I'm Hans Matthew Magno from BSHM 3D. I will report about the revolution of 1896 in Rizal, Rizal Las Ars, and lastly the martyrdom of Rizal. I hope you will learn something. First is the revolution of 1896 and Rizal. Since the beginning of the Cuban Revolution in 1895, the Katipunan had been contemplating on the idea that a revolution was also inevitable in the Philippines. With the Cubans fighting the Spaniards in the other side of the Pacific, it will be a great advantage for the Filipinos to strike as well at the same time, for it is when Spain would have divided attention and strength. In a meeting at the Montalban Cave in April of 1896, Bonifacio and the Katipunan made a decision that the revolution had already come to pass. On the second day of May, the Katipunan Supreme Council chose Dr. Pio Valenzuela as its official emissary to the Pitan. Valenzuela's objective was to convince Rizal to join and lead the Katipunan, since he would have been identified by the Filipinos as their true savior and leader. In June 21, 1896, after a week-long travel, Valenzuela arrived in the Pitan in order to successfully pass the securing of the inspecting officials. Valenzuela brought along a blind man named Raimundo Mata to act as a patient. Eventually, they were able to see Dr. Rizal. He believed that the Katipunan has no capability of defeating the much powerful Spanish army on the reasons that the Katipunan does not have enough arms to fight the well-equipped enemy. The Katipuneros do not have enough skills and training to fight an army veteran in engaging in battles. Its hierarchy lacks credibility, which may result only to confusion in the chain of command among leaders. Second is Rizal's Last Hours. At 6 a.m. of December 29, 1986, Captain Rafael Dominguez, who was designated by Governor Camilo Palavieja to take charge of all arrangements for the execution of the condemned prisoner, read the death sentence to Rizal. He was informed that the manner of execution was that he was to be shot at the back by a firing squad at 7 a.m. in Bagong Bayan. At 7 a.m., an hour after the reading of the death sentence, Rizal was moved to the prison chapel. It is here where he spent his last moments. His first visitors were Father Miguel Sadera Mata, and Father Luis Visa. At 7:15, Rizal happily received from Visa the statuette, or the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which he carved when he was still in the Ateneo. He placed it on his writing table. At 8 a.m., Father Antonio Rosel arrived to relieve Father Visa. Rizal invited Rosel to join him for breakfast. After breakfast, Rizal's defense counsel came, whom he thanked for the gallant service rendered. By 9 a.m., Father Federico Faura arrived. From 12 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., Rizal was left alone in his cell. He took his lunch, and after which he was busy writing. It was probably during this time that he finished his farewell poem and hid it at the alcohol-formed stove. At the same time, he wrote his last letter to Professor Blumentritt. At 3:30 p.m., Father Vicente Balaguer arrived to discuss religious matters with Rizal. And lastly, the martyrdom of Rizal. Around 6:30 a.m., Rizal, elegantly dressed in black, began his death march. Tied by his elbows, Rizal walked on through with all serenity. Together with him was Luis Taviel de Andrade on one side, and Father Villaclara and March on the other. In front of them were the 4 advance guards with drawn bayonets. When the cavalcade arrived at Bagong Bayan, they proceeded to a square in front of Rizal. In front of a squad, Rizal was made to stand 10 paces apart. He bade goodbye to his defender and the priest and shook their hands. When the priest offered crucifix to be kissed, and Rizal kissed it. Spanish military physician Dr. Felipe Ruiz Castillo approached Rizal to feel his pulse. Rizal graciously complied. Father Castillo found it normal, showing only that Rizal did not fear death. It was a standard procedure to see first if the person to be executed is well. This was due to the fact that there have been many incidences that a person for execution would fall even before the shots are made due to cardiac arrest. This defeats the purpose of execution. The death raffles of the drums began. Above the drum beats, the sharp commands were heard, and the bullets from the 4-man squad ripped through his back. Rizal, with all effort, turned his bullet-riddled body to the right and fell on the ground dead, with back flat on the grass and face upward fronting the morning sun with half-closed eyes. It was 7:03 in the morning when he died. Rizal, aged 35 years, 6 months, and 11 days. Rizal's body was quickly loaded to a carriage as he instructed it. Many of his followers followed the carriage, of which destination was unknown. The sisters of Rizal, however painful it was, managed to approach the site of his death to retrieve the blood that flowed and flesh and clothes that teared from the soil. Rizal's body went directly to the Paco Cemetery, dumped on a shallow grave without a coffin, and left without a name. There were no ceremonies of any kind. The family members were not even notified where the body was buried. The loyal followers of Rizal quickly remedied the rude treatment by properly burying him with only the letters RPJ written on a wooden crucifix established on top of the site.